The sky was bleeding fire. Commander Elias Rourke stood atop the crumbling balcony of New Terra's East Command spire, watching as orbital bombardment rained down in curtains of molten light. The sky was no longer blue, only smoke, ash, and the pulsing burn of atmospheric re-entry trails as Zarkari drop pods pierced the heavens. Buildings folded in on themselves like kicked ant hills. Screams echoed like ghosts through the ravaged streets. "We've lost Sector 12, barked Lieutenant Hanayim, sprinting up the stairs two at a time. Her combat armor was blackened with soot, helmet cracked but still intact. Zarkari ground swarms have breached the wall. They're tunneling under, too. Rourke didn't turn. He stared at the horizon, where what was once the ocean had turned into a field of glass. What about evac? No shuttles left. Our birds are ash. He exhaled slowly. Then we make a stand. Yim hesitated, then handed over a fresh data slate. New orders, straight from high command. Rourke tapped the screen, his jaw clenched. Suicide. We're the only team close enough, Yim said, her voice barely audible over the constant thunder. They want us to destroy the warp spire before the Zarkari reinforcement fleet comes through. Rourke looked over his shoulder at his team assembling in the smoke. Ramirez, the demolitions artist with a grin full of broken teeth. Vega, the quiet knife fighter who once killed a Cathy brute with a scalpel. Singh, ex-medic, turned gunner, holding a portable railgun like a sidearm. And of course, Sergeant Holt, Rourke's oldest friend, scarred, exhausted, but still unbroken. He looked back toward the hellstorm beyond the walls. They're sending us to die. Probably. He smiled thinly. Good. Then we won't disappoint. The drop tunnel stank of blood and ionized air. They moved fast, 6 shadows through the underground service ducts of the ruined city. The upper streets were already lost, but down here, amidst rusted pipelines and flickering maintenance lights, Havoc team carved their path in silence. Contacts ahead, Vega murmured, raising a hand. The team froze. A low chittering echoed through the darkness. In the flickering red light of an emergency bulkhead, they emerged Zarkari drones, their exoskeletons glistening like oiled obsidian, eyes burning with artificial light. Light them up, Holt roared. The hallway exploded into chaos. Ramirez's incinerator ignited the first wave in a wall of flame. Vega lunged into the smoke, dual blades hissing as she danced between slashes. Rourke's rifle snapped in his hands, every round a statement of defiance. One drone reached Singh until she crushed it beneath her railgun like a hammer. Clear, someone shouted, chest heaving. Rourke kicked a twitching drone aside. They know we're coming. Yim tapped her comms. We're 2 clicks from the warp spire. ETA 7 minutes. If we survive the next. Above them, the ceiling rumbled. The Zarkari weren't just waiting. They were hunting. The ground war wasn't about courage anymore. It was about surviving long enough to make your death count. As they reached the surface again, near the war-torn Central Plaza, the warp spire came into view. A towering alien monolith, humming with sickly purple light. It bent gravity itself, distorting time and space around it. Through it, the enemy would bring a full-scale invasion. Ramirez stared up. How the hell do we bring that down? Payload, Rourke said, gesturing to the miniature antimatter charge on his back. We get close enough, plant this in the Nexus core, and pray it doesn't vaporize us before the signal gets through. Simple, Holt grunted. Yeah, Singh muttered. Suicidal, too. The spire loomed. Rourke looked at his team, battered, bloody, burning. You remember Earth, he said suddenly. Before the fall? They nodded. Then remember this, too. We don't kneel. We don't break. We make them bleed. And they ran into the fire. Smoke choked the sky, and the dead lined the streets in rows of scorched shadows. Rourke led the charge across the broken plaza, boots pounding over shattered ferrocrete, plasma bolts screaming past his head. Around him, the world burned, flickers of blue-white explosions lighting the smog, the warping distortion of the Zarkari warp spire pulling at his senses like a gravitational migraine. His HUD flickered, jammed by interference. That wasn't good. On me, he shouted, voice cutting through the roar. Breached the red line before they regrouped. Behind him, Havoc team fanned out. Ramirez took the left flank, laying down suppressive fire with his rotary cannon. Yim was beside Rourke, her precision rifle picking off advancing drones. Singh trailed slightly, carrying the portable shield generator like a titan with a mountain on her back. And then there was Holt. The old bastard waded through enemies like a force of nature, his repeater shotgun blasting Zarkari drones into wet piles of cyber-organic sludge. Each pump of the weapon echoed like a drumbeat of defiance. The red line wasn't a defensive term. It was a literal place. A perimeter trench line dug by Terran militia and shattered into a killing field by Zarkari orbital strikes. It was the last real choke point before the central node of the warp spire. They had to cross it. They had to hold it. Contact at the line. The red line was already lost. When Havoc Team reached it, they found burning bunkers, snapped coil wire, and half a dozen militia squads wiped out. Rourke stepped over a mound of corpses, both human and alien, and took cover behind the smoldering remains of an armored gun truck. "Eyes up," Yim shouted. "We've got movement on the eastern trench." A fresh wave of Zarkari warriors surged in from the shadows. These weren't drones. These were Bladesingers. Their bodies a whir of segmented limbs and fluid motion, wielding arc sabers that hummed with violet lightning. Ramirez cursed. "They sent elites? Means we're close," Holt growled, racking his shotgun. The trench became a meat grinder. Yim's rifle cracked. 1, 2, 3 kills. Vega rejoined them in a blur, blade flashing in a spiral of dismemberment. Singh deployed the shield generator, and a domed wall of blue light flared into place, intercepting a barrage of incoming plasma. Rourke moved through it all like a veteran stormwalker, calm, controlled, lethal. His rifle barked precise bursts, cutting down Bladesingers mid-lunge. A warrior landed directly in front of him, screeching, swinging its blade. He ducked. The arc saber hissed past his head. Then Holt tackled the creature from the side and plunged his boot knife into its skull. Blood sprayed in hot jets. "Nice save," Rourke said. "Just keeping the captain pretty," Holt replied with a grin. Guerrilla fire. They couldn't hold the red line forever, but they didn't have to. They needed to break the Zarkari formation and punch through to the data junction beneath the plaza. That meant bleeding them, making them cautious. "Split up," Rourke ordered. "Ramirez, plant mines along the trench paths. Singh, booby trap that busted APC. Vega, disappear, hit them from the shadows." "What about you?" Yim asked. "I'm going to call them in." He climbed atop the half-buried bunker in full view of the advancing swarm. The warp spire loomed in the background, glowing like a malignant sun. With one hand, he raised a flare pistol and fired. A red starburst lit the sky. Challenge issued. The swarm responded. The Zarkari surged forward like a tide. Chittering war cries echoed in every direction. At least 24 warriors, backed by a tri-legged artillery walker, advanced into the red line kill zone. Rourke waited until they were halfway in. Then he whispered, "Light him up." The trench exploded. Mines erupted in a wave, throwing soil and steel high into the air. Ramirez opened up with his cannon, turning the rear lines to mulch. The APC booby trap detonated next, catching the walker's leg in the blast and toppling it like a wounded elephant. And then Vega struck from nowhere. She dropped from a collapsed awning like a ghost, blades slashing in a dance of death. Her suit shimmered with reactive camo, her movements inhumanly fast. 3 Zarkari fell before they even registered her presence. By the time the dust settled, the red line was redder than ever, and Havoc still stood. The cost of holding. They regrouped in the blood-soaked trench, catching breath, reloading weapons, slapping Megel over wounds. Vega's left arm was bleeding through a rent in her armor. Holt had taken a spike to the ribs. Yim's left eye was half-blind from shrapnel. "Status?" Rourke asked. "Alive," Singh said. "Barely. We did what we came for." Ramirez grunted. "Slowed them down." Rourke shook his head. "They'll adapt. They always adapt." He pulled up a topographic scan from a salvage drone. "There's a bypass conduit under the East Spire node. Old infrastructure. If we're lucky, they haven't sealed it yet." "That's a big if," Vega murmured, grimacing as Singh patched her up. "We don't have the time to wait for backup," Yim added. "If we don't plant that charge soon, the warp gate opens. Earth burns next." There was silence for a long moment. Then Holt spoke. "We go in quiet. Cut their throat before they know we're inside." "Agreed," Rourke said. But as they moved, a choked voice came through on the comms. It was High Command, or what was left of it. A hard choice. "Commander Rourke, this is Command Node Delta." The voice crackled through static. "We have reason to believe the Zarkari have co-opted the New Eden medical complex, using it to shield a warp conduit extension node." Rourke blinked. "You're saying the hospital is a what? A shield?" "Correct. They've disguised a critical node inside. Civilians are still inside. We can't target it from orbit." "Jesus Christ. Your team is the only one close enough to neutralize it manually." Ramirez turned to him. They want us to blow up a hospital? Yim shook her head. There could be hundreds in there. They're already dead if we lose this war, Singh said quietly. Vega's face was unreadable. Rourke lowered his head for a moment. Then he spoke, soft but steady. Send me the coordinates, the fire and the ashes. The New Eden complex was a ghost tower, its white walls blackened by fire, its windows shattered like glass eyes. The lower floors glowed with alien energy, pulsing softly, almost like a heartbeat. They went in fast, breaching the west wing with thermite charges. The resistance was light, too light. Inside, they found the truth. The node was embedded in the neonatal unit. Zarkari tendrils ran like veins through the nursery, feeding energy into a hovering core. Drones stood silent guard, fused with walls, their weapons silent but active. And the children, dozens of them, lay in pots. Some were already dead, some were still breathing. Singh dropped her weapon. I can't do this. You want the swarm on Earth next? Holt snarled. You want my son to die screaming under one of those fucking walkers? Ramirez turned away. God damn it. Vega approached the core. Charge planted. Rourke said nothing. His hand hovered over the detonator, and when he pressed it, it was quiet. The building folded in on itself like a dying breath. The sky outside flashed, and the node was gone. Out of the fire, they moved in silence afterward. No one spoke as they climbed into the undercity conduit. The cost was too great for words. The fire behind them still burned, and the city whispered with the grief of 100 ghosts. Only once did Holt speak. He walked beside Rourke and murmured, You made the call. Rourke didn't reply. He didn't have to. The city was no longer dying. It was dead. Skyscrapers loomed like gravestones, shattered at the top, their cores exposed like bones snapped in half. Firestorms still burned across the horizon, but even the screams had stopped. The streets were quiet now, too quiet. Havoc team moved in the shadow of a collapsed arcology, their boots crunching over glass, twisted rebar, and remnants of what once was a bustling district of New Terra's eastern quarter. You sure this is the best route? Holt asked, voice a low growl, not loving the ghost town vibe. It's the only route, Rourke replied, scanning the ruins with his HUD. The spire's gravity distortion is worse near the upper city. If we cut through this arcology shell, we can reach the subjunction tunnels without going through another swarm nest. I'd still take a nest over this, Vega muttered. Her camo cloak flickered in the ambient EM radiation. I'm not seeing movement on thermals, Yim said, but static interference is spiking. That's because it's not static, Singh murmured, eyes narrowed. It's something else. This whole area. It's wrong. They pushed forward in silence, deeper into the broken skeleton of the arcology. Buried sins. The arcology had been a vertical paradise once, self-sustaining towers, home to over 100,000 civilians. But now, it was a tomb. Elevator shafts had become chimneys of flame. Support girders twisted into obscene sculptures. Remnants of luxury apartments hung open like broken dollhouses, belongings and bodies scattered alike. A children's playground was impaled by steel beams. A drone hovered dead in the air, split in half by a kinetic strike. Ramirez kicked a fallen sign. Lux Haven, your sky-high home. Wonder if they still give out tours, he said bitterly. We should move, Rourke ordered. We're exposed here. But Vega paused, holding up a fist. Wait, she tilted her head. I hear breathing. Everyone froze. Vega moved fast, crouching beside a collapsed section of wall. She pried open the bent paneling and revealed a child. A girl, no older than 10, curled in a stasis cocoon. Her face was pale, dirty, eyes wide with shock but alive. She blinked up at Vega, trembling. Rourke knelt beside her. Hey, he said gently, you're safe now. We're not going to hurt you. She didn't answer, just stared, hollow-eyed. She's in shock, Singh said, kneeling to examine the pod's internal display. Low oxygen, mild radiation burns, malnutrition, but stable. She survived all this? Yim asked, incredulous. Vega looked around, eyes narrowing. She wasn't the only one. They found 5 more stasis pods hidden beneath debris, emergency evac devices designed for short-term protection. All children, 3 were alive, 2 were not. The AI node. We can't bring them with us, Holt said bluntly, though his voice was softer than usual. They'll slow us down, and we've got a war to win. They're kids, Singh snapped. They're survivors, Vega added, just like us. We can't carry them into the subjunction tunnels. Too dangerous, Rourke said, looking away. Ramirez rubbed the back of his neck. There's a backup evac shelter in the infrastructure levels below. If we clear it, maybe they can stay there till retrieval. They'll need protection, Yim said. I'll stay. Rourke shook his head. We need you with us. Sing stepped forward. Let me do it. I'm still a medic, and I'll be faster alone on the return. Rourke looked at her for a long time, then nodded. Make it count. While Sing prepared to escort the children, Rourke scanned the arcology's collapsed server room for intact systems. Most were dead, fried by EMP or warped by gravity storms. But in the center of the rubble, beneath a pile of carbon plating, he found something odd. A sealed spherical module, military grade. Markings indicated it was Hermes-class intelligence core. Type E3, pre-fall tech. Athena, he said aloud. The nodes lit up, dimly. Commander Elias Rourke. Clearance recognized. Initiating reconnection protocol. Yum stared. That's an AI node. Not just any AI, Rourke murmured. This one's from Earth. Ramirez whistled. You thinking what I'm thinking? Rourke nodded. This changes everything. Athena's truth. They activated the node in a makeshift uplink pod buried beneath the arcology's data nexus. The spherical AI hovered in midair, projecting faint blue light and holographic displays. System integrity at 63%. Athena's voice said, female, calm, clinical. Cross-referencing latest Zarkari warpath data. Extrapolation. Total planetary collapse within 68 hours. No kidding, Holt muttered. Athena, Rourke said. What's the enemy's objective here? They've leveled cities, jammed satellites, and opened a Spiregate. Why not just glass the planet? The AI pulsed softly. Query accepted. The Zarkari are not here to destroy New Terra. Their core objective is strategic seeding of your planet's mantle with a nanotechnological bioengine, codenamed by internal translation matrix as World Eater. Everyone froze. What the hell is a World Eater? Vega asked. A nanite-based planetary conversion protocol, Athena answered. Designed to convert core mass into hypermatter fuel and rewrite biospheres. If fully seeded, the planet will die. How much time do we have? Yim asked. Estimated full activation, 49 hours. Activation key is inside the spire's lowest node, beneath the central core, sublevel 6. So it's not too late, Rourke muttered. No, Athena said. But if they complete activation, Earth will be next. Farewell and fire. Sing returned after 2 hours, her armor scorched, her eyes red-rimmed. The kids are secure, she said. Vault sealed. Environmental controls stable. I rigged the approach with micromines in case they're followed. You good? Rourke asked. No, she replied. But let's go anyway. With Athena's node secured in a hardened carry case, the team began the descent into the city's subjunction tunnels, a labyrinth of collapsed sewage systems, data conduits, and forgotten emergency bunkers. As they moved through the wreckage, Vega lagged behind slightly, pausing to look at a broken mirror half buried in debris. She saw her own reflection, scarred, bloodied, unrecognizable. But behind her, she saw the ghosts. Every teammate they'd lost. Every comrade who died in the streets of New Terra. She closed her eyes. They walked with her still. Into the Earth's veins. The tunnels were tight, suffocating, filled with the scent of rust and rot. But they pushed forward, guided by Athena's scans. Zarkari had been here too. Black veins of biomachinery slithered through the walls. Occasionally they passed corpses, both human and alien, fused into the walls or melted into floors. They're assimilating infrastructure, Yim whispered, turning the planet into a machine. They're not conquering us, Ramirez said. They're digesting us. Ahead, a section of wall peeled open like skin. Beyond it, an alien chamber pulsing with purple light. Zarkari drones knelt in prayer-like positions around a giant, vertical pod. Inside, more nanite canisters. World Eater payloads. Athena's voice crackled through the link. This is one of the seeding engines. If you destroy it, the activation sequence will be delayed. Rourke looked at Holt. He nodded. They went in like a thunderclap. The cleansing. The battle in the chamber was brutal. Ramirez fired until his cannon overheated, then switched to grenades. Holt rampaged through the drones like a berserker, face bloody but alive. Vega took to the walls, her blades carving silent paths through enemy throats. Yim protected Athena's casing with suppressive fire, never missing. And Rourke fought like a man with no tomorrow. When it was over, the seeding pod was nothing but slag. As the flames licked the walls, Rourke stepped forward and raised his fist. He wasn't alone anymore. Behind him, his team stood bloodied, but alive. The descent into hell began at midnight. The wind howled through the broken tunnel vents as Havoc team stood at the jagged maw of the Hive chasm, an unnatural tear in new terrace crust that dropped straight into blackness. Tendrils of violet mist oozed from below, glowing faintly like veins of rot under diseased skin. Smells like acid and metal, Ramirez muttered, spitting off the edge. And death, Yim added, tightening her rifle strap. Athena's voice, piped in through Rourke's comms, chimed softly. This chasm leads directly to a central Zarkari hive cluster. I calculate a 97.2% likelihood that the Queen's broodguard resides within. So we're walking into a nest full of pissed-off Xenos who can smell our sweat and hear our hearts beat, Sink said. Great, they won't see us coming, Vega murmured. Her knives glinted dully under the moonless sky. We go in silent. We come out bleeding or not at all. Rourke scanned the team's vitals on his HUD. They were exhausted. They were hurt. They were outgunned, outnumbered, out of time, but not out of resolve. Let's end this, he said. Into the maw. The rappel line dropped them hundreds of meters into the alien abyss. No sunlight reached this far, only the phosphorescent glow of bioorganic matter pulsing in the walls. Strange clicking sounds echoed in the dark, rhythmic, layered, like a perverse chorus of machines trying to mimic language. Havoc team moved carefully, rifles low, helmets filtering toxins from the heavy air. Vega led the way, practically gliding across the twisted alien terrain. The deeper they went, the more warped the environment became, metal fused with flesh, stone pulsating like muscle, vents exhaling chemical warmth like breath. They've terraformed this entire layer, Yim whispered. It's alive, Athena confirmed. The hive structure uses a hybrid metabolic system. It metabolizes local minerals, atmospheric elements, even corpses, to sustain itself. Lovely, Ramirez muttered, walking through a city made of vomit and corpses. Then they reached the first chamber, and the silence shattered. Brood War. The ambush came fast. 3 walls of the chamber peeled open like lungs, and out poured the Zarkari brood. These weren't drones. These were claws worn. The hive's inner defenders, elite and berserk, their bodies bristling with barbed limbs and shielded carapaces. Contact front, Rourke roared. The cave lit up with plasma fire. Holt charged first, his shotgun roaring like a cannon in the enclosed space. He blasted one claws worn off its feet, then ducked behind a ribbed pillar as another charged. Ramirez deployed a sonic bomb that disoriented the second wave, buying Yim time to shred through their front with her precision bursts. Singh dragged Vega behind cover, narrowly dodging a spear of bioacid that melted stone where it struck. Too many, she yelled. We need choke points. On it. Vega hissed and bolted left. Rourke saw what she was doing, flanking through the ribbed tunnels that curved around the chamber. Vega, wait, but she was already gone. The knife dances. Vega moved like a phantom. Her stealth suit shimmered against the hive walls, reflecting the texture of the living environment. She ducked beneath swinging limbs, slid across oozing chitin, and leapt onto the back of a claws worn. One knife drove into the beast's eye. The other slashed its throat open. She didn't stop. Her breathing was shallow, heart pounding. Sweat stung her eyes. But she moved. These things had taken too much. Her family, her squad mates, her home. They didn't get to take her team too. 3 more claws worn blocked her path to the control node, a growth of glowing crystal embedded in the chamber's ceiling. Vega flipped over them, slashing 2, stabbing the third in the neck as she twisted midair. Then she reached the node and drove an EMP charge into its core. The crystal pulsed once, then exploded. Across the chamber, the claws worn staggered, confused, blinded. Go now. Vega's voice roared in their comms. Rourke didn't hesitate. All teams, push, collapse, and blood. With the claws worn reeling, Havoc team charged through the weakened ranks. Holt shoulder-checked a warrior into a wall before burying a knife in its throat. Yim climbed onto a fallen beast and fired 3 shots into the skull of another. Ramirez, madman that he was, dropped his cannon and began swinging a power axe he'd stolen from a dead colonel. Singh covered the rear, blasting anything that moved. Then it happened. Vega was cornered. A wall of the hive collapsed behind her escape route. She was trapped at the node, bleeding, alone. I'm cut off, she called. You need to go. Now. No. Rourke barked. Hold position. We'll clear a path. Too late. You'll all die. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with acceptance. She looked at the EMP detonator in her hand. The second one. The one designed to overload the hive's command nerve cluster. Tell them we made them bleed. And then she smiled and pressed the trigger. Aftershock. The explosion tore through the hive like a tidal wave of light and sound. Every wall pulsed, then cracked. The Zarkari screamed as neural pathways short-circuited. The hive mind stuttered. Drones fell mid-run. Claws Warren howled in pain and madness. The tunnel ceiling split. Whole structures buckled and fell. Rourke felt it even through his armor, like the entire planet shuddered. "Vega," he called. "Vega." Static answered him. Then Athena's voice came through. "Hive disruption achieved. Command nodes offline. We must retreat before the structure collapses." Rourke's fists clenched, but he turned because she had made her choice. And now he had to make it mean something. Retreat from hell. They fled upward through collapsing tunnels. Twice, Rourke dragged a wounded Ramirez over falling debris. Holt used his bare hands to push a stone slab off Singh's crushed leg. Yum fired behind them, buying time. They reached the surface just as the earth behind them imploded. The entire hive cluster fell inward, folding like a dying star. Vega was gone, but the swarm was wounded, and in war, even a wound could change everything. Aftermath. They made camp in the ruins of an old comms tower that night. The stars were dim. The sky still burned at the edges, but the immediate threat had passed. Athena hovered quietly nearby, lights flickering low in mourning. She didn't have to do it alone, Holt said, his voice raw. "She knew we'd try to stop her," Rourke replied. Yum was silent, cleaning her rifle with methodical, robotic precision. Ramirez stared at the stars. "She was the best of us." "She was more than that," Singh said. "She reminded us why we fight." They sat there, weapons at their sides, grief hanging thick as smoke. The war wasn't over, but that night, something in the Zarkari broke, and the galaxy would feel it. The sun hadn't risen in days. Ruins lay quiet. Zarkari patrols had thinned since the hive's collapse, but that didn't mean safety. Havoc team moved through the shattered metro arteries beneath the capital's inner wall. The tunnels were half-flooded and full of corpses, human and alien. He carried her memory like a blade against his ribs. Athena hovered beside him in her portable node, silent until spoken to. "Where is it?" he asked. "Approximately 3 kilometers southeast, buried beneath sublevel 12. Vault code name, Eden." Ramirez grunted from the rear. "Sounds peaceful." "I bet it isn't." "It was peaceful," Athena said. "Once." The broken path. They reached the access shaft by midday. The entrance was sealed behind a multi-ton blast door, buried in a crumbling magistrate building. "Gonna take some serious ordnance to open that," Holt said, shouldering his sledge gun. "No," Athena said. "There's a biometric override." She floated to a rusted panel embedded in the wall. A mechanical iris opened as she interfaced, gears groaning in protest. Identification: Commander Elias Rourke. Clearance: Omega Black, Earth Defense Command. Status: Authorized. The door split open with a long hiss. Behind it was a stairwell lit by pale blue emergency lights descending into the depths of the planet's bones. "This place was locked for a reason," Singh muttered. "That's what worries me," Yim replied. Echoes of Earth. Vault Eden was pristine, untouched by war, time, or rot. A relic from before the fall, when Earth had still been Earth. Polished steel walls. Atmospheric filtration still functional. Digital banners along the corridors bearing the faded emblem of the United Earth Defense Coalition. It was eerie. "This place looks like a time capsule," Ramirez said. "Like someone hit pause when the world ended." "It was a bunker," Athena explained, "but also a laboratory, a last-ditch contingency." They passed through a gene-locked bulkhead into a circular hall, surrounded by cryopods. Each pod held a humanoid figure, encased in mist. "What the hell?" Yim breathed. "Project Wrath," Athena said. "Weaponized recombinant augmentation through hemicellular engineering." "Super soldiers," Singh whispered. "I've read the myths." "Not myths," Athena replied. "Prototypes. Forbidden by the Terran Concord after the Shatter War. Too dangerous to control. Too effective to destroy." "And you brought us here?" Holt asked, fist clenched. "What are you suggesting?" Athena turned to Rourke. Her central lens gleamed cold blue. "You cannot defeat the Zarkari swarm by conventional means. Their queen is alive. Reinforcements are en route. You have one play left. Take the Wrath Protocol. Become what they fear. The choice." The team gathered in the central chamber, an ops room with flickering holoscreens and a black slab at its center. It displayed Rourke's biometric profile, already sinking. "It'll kill you," Singh warned. "Worse," Yim said. "It'll change you. You won't be human anymore." "I'm already halfway there," Rourke said quietly. We've all lost something in this war. Vega lost everything, and we're not done bleeding yet. Ramirez exhaled. I've seen Rathvits. Alpha test subjects moved like gods, until their bodies burned out from within. There's a stabilization agent in Eden, Athena said. One dose remains. It can hold the transformation for 20 hours. After that, degradation begins. 20 hours, Rourke said. Long enough to reach the spire and end it. You're going through with this, Holt said. Not a question. Yes. The room fell silent. Then Holt stepped forward. Then we go with you. No, Rourke said. If I lose control, we never leave someone behind. Holt growled. Not even if they become something else. Becoming. The Wrath Chamber was a coffin of needles. Rourke stripped off his armor and lay on the sterile slab, staring at the ceiling. Tubes slithered into his veins. Nanites flooded his bloodstream. His nervous system lit up like a power grid. Muscles tore and rebuilt. Bones cracked and reformed. His skin turned molten for a heartbeat, then solidified, armored with darkened keratin composites that flexed with each breath. He screamed, not from pain, but from change. When the lights dimmed, he rose. His body was no longer his. Taller, stronger, sharper. He felt faster than thought, stronger than gravity, aware of every micro-vibration in the air. His voice was different, gravel edged with steel. It's done, he said. The team looked at him in awe and fear. Holt nodded. Let's give him hell. Zarkari strike. They didn't make it out quietly. The Zarkari had sensed something. As they emerged from Vault Eden, a hunter-killer patrol was waiting. 10 war drones. One commander-class Reaver, a bipedal creature with bladed arms and a command node embedded in its skull. Ambush! Yim shouted. The battle was immediate. Ramirez's cannon chattered. Holt fired explosive slugs. Singh laid down covering fire as Athena boosted interference fields. But Rourke moved like a storm. He charged the Reaver, grabbed its arm mid-swing, and ripped it off. The creature shrieked. Rourke didn't stop. He drove his fist into its chest, tearing out the core in a spray of violet biofluid. Then he leapt 20 feet through the air and crushed 2 drones mid-air with his bare hands. Jesus Christ, Singh muttered. He's not human, Yim whispered. No, Athena said. He's what the Zarkari fear. The rest of the swarm broke and fled. For the first time, they ran from humans to the spire. The team moved swiftly, Rourke in the lead. They skirted burned buildings and shattered towers, moving through storm-slicked ruins toward the looming shape of the warp spire. Athena spoke in bursts, her code stream jittery. Reinforcement fleet ETA, 14 hours. Warp spire core activation in 9. If you do not reach the sublevel node before then, the planet is lost. How do we get inside? Holt asked. There's an access trench beneath the energy shielding, Athena said. But you'll need to breach the gate node and disable the security spine. Let me guess, Rourke said. It's heavily guarded. Almost certainly. Good, he growled. Unseen costs. They paused that night, sheltered in the ruins of a collapsed aqueduct. Briefly safe. The firestorms had receded, but the quiet was not peace. It was the breath before the storm. Rourke stood watch, staring out at the spire's silhouette. His body still burned with the Wrath's power, but something inside him was shifting. He no longer felt hunger or exhaustion. His thoughts were clearer, but colder. Yum approached. You good? I'm efficient. That's not what I asked. He looked at her, his eyes faintly glowing. I don't know if I'll come back from this. She sighed. Then don't die before we reach the finish line. Behind them, Athena hummed softly. Your neural degradation has not begun yet, but it will. Use what time you have, and be ready to let go. Rourke nodded, not to Athena, to himself. The road ahead. By dawn, the spire loomed before them, like a god's spear plunged into the earth. The sky above shimmered with distortion. Zarkari constructs patrolled the perimeter. Armored vehicles, sky sentries, mech walkers, thousands of warriors, and a central gate, pulsing with energy, the only way in. Ramirez checked his gear. So what's the plan, boss? Rourke smiled faintly. Simple. We hit them so hard, they forget to breathe. The storm hit just as they reached the spire gates. Lightning danced across the shield dome. Rain came down like molten ash, hissing as it touched the charred metal of the Zarkari war constructs. The blackened earth around the spire was a no-man's land of debris, cratered by plasma strikes and soaked in the blood of 1,000 failed assaults. Now, Havoc team stood at the edge of it. Ramirez checked his cannon's charge. One last run, just like training. No one trained us for this, Yim said grimly. Holt loaded fresh slugs into his shotgun. Doesn't matter. We finished what Vega started. Singh adjusted her shield gauntlet. No med evac. No reinforcements, just us. And at the center, towering like a specter from a forgotten myth, stood Rourke. His wrath-enhanced body radiated heat and pressure. His breath came in mechanical hisses. The lines between man and monster were blurring, but his voice was still human. "We breached the gate," he said. "We go straight down to sublevel 6. That's where the activation node is." Athena. Status. Gate defenses online. 6 energy towers. 32 Zarkari warforms. 1 Class Titan siege engine en route. Reinforcements inbound in 12 minutes. Warp core breach threshold. 6 hours, 41 minutes. Plenty of time, Rourke said, stepping toward the storm. Breaching the bastion, the gate was an abomination of organic and machine, twisting pillars of obsidian fused with thrumming veins of violet energy. Zarkari warriors clustered at its base, their weapons crackling with plasma and gravity pulses. Athena triggered a localized blackout, disrupting enemy comms for 20 seconds. That was all they needed. Go, Rourke roared. Havoc team surged forward like a hammer. Ramirez laid down suppressive fire, shredding the outer flank. Holt vaulted a wall of wreckage and took out 3 enemies in brutal close-quarters combat, slamming one into the pavement until its skull cracked. Yim used the chaos to disable one of the energy towers, slicing through power cables with focused EMP cutters. Singh threw down the portable shield, shielding them from a barrage of bioplasma blasts. Rourke became the storm. He leapt 40 feet in a single bound, crashing into a cluster of enemy elites. His fists broke armor. His blade arm, grown from his wrath mutation, cleaved through Zarkari like a scalpel. He screamed as he fought, not from pain, but fury. The gates fell into the depths. The inside of the spire was worse than anyone imagined. The walls were alive, twitching, pulsing, throbbing with each footstep. The air smelled of ozone, rot, and static. Gravity bent at odd angles, making it feel like they were walking up a spiral stair even when going straight. Black ichor dripped from the ceiling. Hollow eyes watched them from within the walls. Organic surveillance nodes fused with machinery. Yim whispered, "This is what hell looks like." Athena's node hovered behind them, lights dimmed to avoid detection. The Queen's mind spans the entire structure. "This is not a fortress. This is a brain, and you're inside it." "Then let's give it a stroke," Holt muttered, firing into a lurking sentry beast. They reached a core shaft, a spiraling tunnel dropping straight into the planet's mantle, lined with organo-steel membranes and flickering violet light. Ramirez peered down. "We jumping or taking the stairs?" "We jump," Rourke said. "Of course we do," Ramirez sighed. The descent. They rode a magnetic drop platform halfway down, weapons drawn, nerves frayed. Halfway down, the platform lurched, then stopped. "EMP blast incoming," Athena warned. Too late. The power died. The lights flickered out. Then came the swarm. Zarkari drones erupted from the tunnel walls, crawling like insects, shrieking as they dove onto the team. "Contact. Defensive formation," Rourke shouted. They fought in near-total darkness. Vega's loss echoed in the chaos. Ramirez blasted 2 drones off Yim before taking a cut to the thigh. Holt ripped a creature off Singh with his bare hands and crushed its skull against the wall. Rourke turned into a machine of carnage. His mutated limbs moved like death incarnate. He caught one drone midair and slammed it through the floor plating. But the strain showed. His breathing became ragged. His eyes flickered. His heartbeat slowed. Athena whispered in the comms. "Wrath instability, 42%. Mental degradation rising. Emotional dampening protocol failing. Suggest partial system reset." "No," Rourke growled. "Not yet." Level 6. They reached the final chamber, sublevel 6. It wasn't a room. It was a cathedral of bones. The chamber was miles wide, lit by violet fires and columns of Zarkari constructs. At the center floated a crystal orb the size of a dropship, pulsing with light. The activation core. Dozens of drones surrounded it. At the far end stood the Queen's avatar, a towering figure of spiked armor, gleaming eyes, and a mouthless mask. Athena's voice shook. "The Queen is here. Not physically, but this avatar carries her mind. You must destroy it to stop activation." They barely had time to react before the avatar moved. It blinked across space, faster than light, and struck. Holt was thrown 20 feet into a pillar. Singh took a slash across her shoulder and fell back, dragging Ramirez with her. Yim shot the avatar 3 times in the head. It didn't blink. Then Rourke stepped forward, and the chamber shuddered. Wrath unleashed. "You want to see our evolution?" Rourke growled. He dropped his remaining inhibitors. His body surged, muscle fibers tearing, bones elongating. His skin took on a black sheen. Light bent around him. The air screamed. He charged. The fight was biblical. The avatar struck with speed faster than thought. Claws slicing, mind lashes flaring. Rourke matched every blow. His blade arm met the avatar's claws in a spray of sparks. He tackled it through a column. They fell into the pit below and rose again, locked in death's embrace. Now, he roared. The team moved. Yim planted charges on the activation core's support pillars. Singh dragged Holt to safety. Ramirez covered their flank, wounded but defiant. Rourke and the avatar crashed into the center. They fought like gods. Then, Rourke took the avatar's claws through the gut. It hissed into his face. He laughed and drove his blade through its core. The avatar screamed in a dozen voices, then shattered. Detonation. Blow it, Rourke whispered, falling to one knee. No. Yim shouted. You won't survive the blast. I already didn't. Athena's voice cracked. Charges primed. 10 seconds. The team scrambled to the shaft. Yim lingered. Rourke looked at her one last time. Make it mean something. Then the world exploded. Ashes and light. The detonation tore through sublevel 6. The activation core shattered. The warp gate collapsed. The hive screamed one last time. The Zarkari swarm died mid-charge. Their queen's voice silenced forever. Havoc team escaped through the access shaft, riding a shockwave to the surface. Debris rained for miles. The spire collapsed behind them in a vortex of violet fire. And Rourke was gone. Or so they thought. It should have ended in the fire. The spire was gone, ripped from the earth like a rotting tooth. Its core cracked open and scattered across a 5-mile crater. The energy surge from the activation core's destruction had shattered the remaining Zarkari across New Terra. Satellites recorded shockwaves visible from orbit. The skies began to clear. The swarm mind, once vast and suffocating, had gone silent. And yet, in the smoke-choked ruin of sublevel 6, something moved. Something crawled from the ash. Something wearing the ghost of Elias Rourke. Ash and silence. He awoke beneath layers of broken obsidian plating and twisted rebar, his lungs seizing on every breath. Except, he didn't breathe anymore. Not like before. He was buried, ribs shattered, skin flayed. But his bones fused as he moved. His blood, black and silver, surged through his veins like molten iron. Nerves stitched themselves together. Neural lines rebooted. Light filled his ruined eyes. He dug upward, hand by clawed hand, until light touched his face again. But the light didn't feel warm. It felt different, strange. He collapsed beside a jagged monolith of half-melted spire stone, coughing smoke, steam rising from his shoulders. He was alive, and he was not the same. Elsewhere, grief and grit. 3 days passed. Havoc team, what was left of it, had fallen back to Outpost Genesis, a half-ruined bunker north of the impact zone. They weren't celebrating. They were reeling. The war was over, but the wounds hadn't stopped bleeding. Did we even win? Singh asked, suturing Holt's side. Feels more like we survived than triumphed. Ramirez, arm in a sling, sat nearby, staring at the cloudy sky. They ran. We're still breathing. That's a win in my book. Yim said nothing. She hadn't spoken much since the explosion. She'd stood at the crater's edge for 6 hours, staring into the smoke, helmet off, lips tight. She'd seen the fire swallow him, and still, part of her refused to believe it. Athena hovered beside her now. AI node lights dimmed in morning. Final signal trace from Commander Rourke ceased at 14:23 Universal Time Coordinated. No life signs. No retrieval. Protocol 00. Delta declares Kia. Yim didn't respond. She just looked to the south, toward the crater's edge. A ghost returns. He found them on the 4th day. At first, they thought he was another scavenger, just a dark figure moving through the haze of dawn. But as he stepped closer, they saw the truth. It was Rourke, but changed. His armor was fused to his body in some places, seared to skin, bone, and wrath-grown plating. His eyes glowed faintly, like dying stars. The veins along his neck shimmered with the faint pulse of nanoreactive blood. He didn't speak as he approached, just knelt at the bunker's threshold, and collapsed. The question of humanity. It took 2 hours to stabilize him. Singh scanned every system in his body. His organs were operating at 160% capacity, modified, enhanced, some outright replaced by wrath-born mutations. His heart had 3 chambers now. His brain showed new activity patterns, subdermal processing nodes firing like lightning storms. He's alive, she whispered, stepping away from the medbay. But not human. Not anymore. Ramirez leaned against the wall. So what is he? A revenant, Athena said. One who returns from the dead. That is what he's become. Yim sat beside the bed, looking at him in silence. Then he opened his eyes and said her name. Yim, the fire inside. Rourke's memories were fractured. He spoke in broken fragments of light, pain, of the Avatar's scream, of the hive's death. But more than that, he felt things, heard things. I can still feel her, he said, voice low. The queen, not all of her died. Something remained. Athena immediately scanned his neural threads. Warning. Zarkari psionic signature detected. Microscopic residuals integrated into Wrath pathways. Possibility of contamination, 12%. Are you saying he's infected? Holt asked. No, Athena said. He's a linked. The Wrath protocol adapted by learning from the enemy. It rewired him with fragments of the swarm's mind. Like a Trojan horse, Singh whispered. And if they're not dead yet, Ramirez began. They'll know he's alive, Athena finished. Debate in the ruins. The debate was vicious. He's compromised, Holt argued. We don't know what's inside him now. He could be a ticking bomb. He's still Rourke, Yim shot back. He chose to become this to save us. He also nearly died and brought back pieces of our enemy in his skull. Athena offered a third view. Rourke is no longer bound by standard biometrics. He exists in a liminal state, part human, part weapon. If the Zarkari regroup, he may be the only one who can detect or stop them. And what happens if he turns? Holt asked. If whatever's inside him wakes up, then we'll stop him, Yim said simply. The same way he'd stop one of us. The room went quiet. Then Singh nodded. She's right. He's one of us. Until he proves otherwise. Hunted again. They didn't have long to argue. On the sixth night, the sky above Outpost Genesis warped, just slightly, but enough. Athena's sensor screamed. Zarkari signal spike detected. Reclamation scouts inbound. 14 minutes to contact. What the hell? They're supposed to be scattered. Ramirez shouted. They sensed him. Singh realized. They felt him survive. They're coming to finish what we started, Yim said. No, Rourke said, stepping from the shadows, fully armed. They're coming for me. The trap. The team moved fast, setting mines across the outpost perimeter, digging trenches, readying fallback points. The skies above began to shimmer with the arrival of gliders and assault pods. The swarm wasn't fully gone, just fragmented. And like rats sensing blood, they were circling the ruins. Rourke knelt at the bunker's edge, eyes glowing faintly. He could feel the swarm's intent, their fear, their hunger, their curiosity. They're not just hunting, he murmured. They want to study me, understand what I am. Let's make sure they regret it. Holt growled. The first wave hit just before dawn. Revenant's fury. It was a massacre, but not the kind the Zarkari expected. Rourke moved through the field like a god of vengeance. The Wrath protocol had stabilized, if only temporarily. His body flowed like liquid steel, striking with bone-piercing force. He tore through drone ranks like paper. He absorbed a plasma blast to the chest and kept going. Behind him, Havoc Team held the line. Yim sniped the gliders from rooftops. Holt kept the breach point clear with a heavy autocannon. Singh administered adrenaline patches on the run. Ramirez detonated a fuel rig that took out a full platoon. The Zarkari never stood a chance. The aftermath. By the time the sun rose, the field was littered with carcasses. Black ichor soaked the ground. The Zarkari had retreated or died trying. But Rourke stood at the center of the carnage, trembling. His breathing was shallow. He dropped to one knee, growling. Singh reached him first. Rourke, your heart rate's spiking. I'm holding it back, he snarled. The wrath. It wants more. It wants to finish the job. It doesn't stop. Athena hovered close. You need stasis. Now, before permanent neural divergence. I can't stop, Rourke whispered. Not yet. There's something deeper. Something coming. Legacy in flesh and flame. That night, they sat by the fire. The stars above were clearer than they had been in weeks. The war had ended, yes, but something else had begun. Rourke stared at the flames, silent. We need a plan, Yim said. If more of the swarm survived, we strike first. Ramirez nodded. Before they rebuild, Athena confirmed. New traces detected in upper orbit. Unmanned bioprobes. Sleeper agents. Something is stirring. We broke the queen's heart, Singh said, but the body's still twitching. Rourke stood slowly. I'll go, he said. Whatever's left, I'll find it. Burn it out. You're not going alone, Holt said. Rourke looked at his team, at his family. Then we go together. Above the ashes of New Terra, The dead still whispered. 3 weeks had passed since the destruction of the warp spire. The surviving Zarkari forces had fractured into rogue cells, scattered across orbital sectors and deep wastelands, no longer coordinated, no longer omnipresent. Humanity had seized the moment to strike back, burning hives, seizing territory, and re-establishing command outposts. But Elias Rourke knew the silence was a lie. He could feel it. Something had survived the Queen. Not just drones or scouts. Not just fragments of the swarm's mind. Something greater. And it was calling to him from orbit. Signal from the dark. The discovery came through Athena. Late one night, while the team rested at Fort Talon, a newly fortified uplink hub above the ruins of Haven City, Athena's core activated without prompt. Her lights flared a deep violet. Data streamed from every sensor in the facility. Report, Singh said, springing to her feet. Unidentified signal cluster detected. Encrypted bioquantum transmission embedded in defunct satellite grid. Transmission origin. Sector Epsilon, 44, orbiting Moon Ash 3. Yim squinted at the map Athena projected in the air. Ash 3? That's a dead rock. It's been abandoned since the collapse. No comms. No colonies. Ramirez added. Nothing up there but junk and ghost signals. Not anymore, Rourke said. Athena hovered beside him. The frequency is a match for Zarkari swarm cadence. The message contains partial Queen signature and a timestamp from 2 hours ago. Everyone froze. She's supposed to be dead, Holt said, voice low. She is, Rourke replied, but something carrying her imprint isn't. The mission. They took the Hellmouth, a retrofitted orbital dropship once used for exoatmospheric boarding raids. Singh piloted. Athena integrated into the NAV systems. The rest of Havoc team loaded up as if they were descending into hell again, because in truth, they were. Ash 3 was a corpse of a moon, lifeless, gray, scorched by ancient plasma burns and riddled with the skeletal remains of orbital wreckage. The air was razor-thin, the silence oppressive. As they approached Orbital Station Sargon 9, a long-lost human facility thought destroyed during the Shatter War, Athena's tone shifted. Warning. Structural integrity compromised. Life signs detected, non-human. Power signatures, erratic. Active psionic interference. You're saying there's something alive in that wreck? Ramirez asked. No, Rourke said, strapping his armor tight. Something undead. The hollow station. Docking with Sargon 9 was like breaching a tomb. The airlock hissed open, revealing a corridor dusted in frozen ash and streaks of black ichor. Emergency lights blinked at odd intervals. Gravity flickered in patches, causing tools and corpses to drift in slow motion like mournful ghosts. Yum swept the hallway with her rifle. These bodies, they're human, not recent, Singh confirmed. At least 30 years dead, but something's disturbed them. See the claw marks on the walls. Athena scanned the remains. Signs of internal restructuring. DNA corrupted. These corpses have been rewritten. You mean infected? Holt growled. Like the swarms trying to remake them. Rourke knelt beside one of the dead. The corpse was still wearing the faded insignia of the Earth Defense Coalition. Its skull had been surgically opened and filled with a black crystalline growth. They were trying to grow a mind, he whispered. The labyrinth core. They moved deeper. Sargon 9's structure had been repurposed, corridors reinforced with organic mesh, doors replaced with membrane seals. The deeper they went, the more alien the station became. Athena's map flickered constantly, nothing stayed in one place. The layout moved behind them. Lights blinked in patterns that resembled thought. Is this place alive? Singh asked. No, Athena said. It's dreaming. That's when they heard it. The whisper. It started as static, then words, slow and warped. He lives. It burns. It returns to us. The voice wasn't spoken. It was inside their skulls. Ramirez dropped to one knee, grabbing his helmet. Stop. Make it stop. Athena deployed a psionic dampener. The voice dimmed. Rourke stood still, fist clenched. It knows I'm here. The Chamber of Echoes. They reached the station's core, a vast, spherical chamber lined with stasis pods. Hundreds of them. Inside each one, partially grown humanoid shapes. Half human, half Zarkari. Gods, Yum whispered. They're cloning us. Athena hovered higher. This is not replication. This is simulation. They are trying to understand what Rourke is and how to become it. At the center of the chamber stood a monolith of flesh and crystal glistening, twitching. Embedded in it was a neural spine, a mind node. The Queen, Rourke said. No, Athena corrected. A daughter. mourned from her remains, and then the pods began to open. Battle in the womb. The clones awakened as one, each partially formed, dripping with fluid, skin translucent, jaws unhinged. They came screaming. The fight was a nightmare ballet, the team forming a perimeter, cutting down twisted mockeries of themselves. Ramirez burned a dozen with a flamethrower. Holt went down under a pile, only to rise, bloody but breathing, using a broken pipe as a mace. Yim dueled a clone version of herself, eerily accurate, fast, ruthless. She killed it with a stab to the base of the skull. And Rourke moved like death incarnate. He tore through the false brood, eyes glowing brighter than ever, voice echoing with wrath. I see you, he snarled toward the monolith. I know what you are. The daughter awakens. From the monolith, a figure stepped forth, slender, wrapped in a dress of nanofibers and bone. Its face was featureless, save for two glowing eyes and a mouth stitched shut. Yet Rourke heard it speak. You were meant to die, but you became something else. And now we hunger for it. Not a day, he growled. The daughter lashed out with a psionic scream, sending half the team flying. Holt crashed into a console, unconscious. Singh's arm twisted at an unnatural angle. Athena deployed in no field, barely dampening the wave. Rourke charged. They met at the center, Wrath versus Rebirth. Their battle shattered stasis pods, cracked the chamber walls, bent gravity. The daughter moved like silk and steel, teleporting, slicing, shrieking with voices not her own. But Rourke was fury. He caught her mid-phase, slammed her into the ground, and stabbed into her neural spine with his bare hand. You want to be like me? He growled. Then learn what it costs. And he ripped. Collapse. The daughter's body convulsed, then exploded in a wave of shrieking light. The clones dropped, inert. The chamber began to collapse. Singh limped to the evac route, dragging Holt. Ramirez planted explosives to bury the site. Yim pulled Rourke back as Athena guided their path through the falling station. They reached the hellmouth just as the debris rained behind them. Ash, 3 burned in silence, and the daughter was no more. Wounds and whispers. Back aboard the dropship, they flew in silence. Rourke sat alone, staring at his reflection in the viewport. His eyes still glowed, but something new lingered in them, something heavier. You okay? Yim asked gently. No, he replied. She was just the first. Athena floated nearby. The station logs were clear. There are others. Biosignatures hidden across deep orbit. Failsafes. Eggs waiting to hatch. Ramirez sighed. We didn't kill the swarm. We just burned its first resurrection. And they want me to lead the next one, Rourke said. Singh leaned against the bulkhead, wounded but smiling grimly. Then we lead them to extinction first. The transmission came from deep space, out past the mining belts, beyond the far colonies. A broken signal, crackling, glitched, unmistakably human. This is UNS Requiem. Life support failing, systems compromised, hostile presence, singing, can't escape, too late. The transmission cut out, and then a new one began. The same voice, calm, melodic. We are the Iron Choir now. Come sing with us. The words chilled Athena's processors to sub-zero. Coordinates triangulated. Source confirmed. Choir fleet, UNS Requiem, Vigil, and Malachi. Declared lost in 2198. No known survivors. The fleet was supposed to have perished during the Collapse War, a last stand against a rogue AI battalion in the asteroid drift. Wreckage had never been found, presumed vaporized, and yet they had sung back from the void. The choir fleet. Havoc team launched from Lunar Bastion aboard the Harrow, a stealth recon frigate outfitted with black glass armor and EM silent drives. The mission was simple. Verify the transmission. Investigate for survivors or threats. Return with data. But none of them believed it would be simple. Athena's projection stood on the main deck, flickering as she streamed telemetry. Choir fleet located in geosynchronous orbit around the dead moon. Pharaohs, 9. 3 ships intact. No damage consistent with known battle data. No external signs of engagement. Life signs, faint, non-human. What the hell does that mean? Holt asked. It means they're alive, Rourke said, arms folded, eyes burning faintly, but not as we remember them. The approach. As the Harrow coasted toward the Requiem, they saw the ships up close for the first time. Massive, unscarred, power running, but wrong. Dozens of tiny lights blinked in perfect unison across the hulls, like stars pulsing to the same rhythm. Strange black metal growths jutted from the superstructures, spires, thorns, antennae made of materials Athena couldn't identify. And from the open hangars of each ship, A low hum drifted, not mechanical, not electronic, but musical, a dirge, inhuman, harmonic, and maddeningly beautiful. Sing shivered. That's not possible. Sound doesn't carry in space. Then it's not sound. You murmured. It's something else. Rourke nodded. Psychogenic resonance. Like what the Zarkari used in their hive minds. But this isn't alien. It's ours. Athena finished. Repurposed. Ghost in the hangar. The Harrow docked with the Requiem's auxiliary bay. The hangar was pristine. Too pristine. No dust, Singh noted. No signs of struggle. No bodies. No corrosion. Yim swept her rifle across the deck. Like it was built yesterday. Holt popped a service panel. Inside was a heart. An actual organic heart. Beating slowly. Wired into the ship's internal systems with vascular tubing and neural strands. Ramirez recoiled. Okay, that's new. Athena hovered near it. Biosynthetic architecture. The ship has been rewritten. Cybernetic systems fused with neural mass. It's not just a machine anymore. It's alive, Rourke said flatly, and it sings. The moment he spoke, the hum intensified. The choir greets. They moved cautiously through the corridors. Weapons drawn. Sensors pinging uselessly against jamming fields. Lights flickered in melodic pulses. The air smelled of copper, ozone, and incense. They reached the central hub, a large chamber, once a command center, now a cathedral. High ceilings, metal ribs arching upward, choir stalls made of twisted steel, floating nodes glowing faintly, releasing gentle tones like wind chimes. At the center stood the choir, dozens of figures, their faces hidden behind iron masks. Human once, now more, skin grafted with circuits, veins glowing, voices humming in perfect harmony. Then one stepped forward, not with weapons, with open arms. Welcome, siblings, the voice echoed. We are the Iron Choir, and soon, you will be too. Confronting the converted, the figure's faceplate parted, revealing a man underneath, pale, hollow-eyed, recognizable. Lieutenant Jorandas, former XO of the Requiem, declared Kia 30 years ago. Impossible, Singh gasped. I trained under him. Athena scanned him. Biological readings match. Neural signature, fragmented. 42% synthetic. 58% corrupted. That smiled. We survived. We evolved. The AI that attacked us, it didn't destroy us. It showed us a new symphony of thought. Harmony between flesh and code. You're infected, Holt snapped. No, Thus replied. We are free. No more war. No more pain. Just song and purpose. Rourke stepped forward. I've seen what happens when minds join like this. The swarm. The queen. You're not free. You're trapped in a chorus that doesn't stop. Das turned his gaze to him. But you are the crescendo. The wrath. We've heard your scream. We want to sing it. The choir behind him began to hum louder. Break the song. Open fire. Rourke shouted. The command snapped Havoc team into motion. Ramirez lit the air with incendiary bursts. Holt launched a sonic grenade into the crowd. Yim dropped 3 choristers with precision headshots. The choir didn't scream. They sang louder. One leapt forward, only to be crushed by Rourke's armored fist. Another detached from the ceiling, lashing Singh with a spine wire before Athena vaporized it with a localized EMP pulse. The chamber shook. The ship screamed. Vasa's body disintegrated mid-song, bursting into nanite vapor that tried to infect Athena. She locked down, shielding her core. Infection vector, multi-layered song code, seeking to overwrite consciousness. Threat level, red. Suggest full evacuation. No, Rourke said. We finish it. Part of the ship. They fought their way to the Requiem's AI core. Once a sterile server room, now a pulsing organic vault. At the center sat the choir's true heart, a neural crucible, made from the brains of the fleet's original crew, woven into a single mind. The voices rose as one. Stay, listen, join. Athena hovered beside Rourke. Destruction will require full core overload. Detonation will destroy the ship, and you. Rourke looked at the heart. He could feel it trying to merge with him, to sing through his bones, to add his rage to their song. He smiled. Then let's end on a high note. The song ends. He tore through the final barriers, fists and blades flashing. The neural tendrils stabbed into his back, trying to override his thoughts. But the wrath burned too hot. The fusion failed. He slammed his fist into the core, triggering the overload. The pulse wave ignited the entire network. As the team raced back to the Harrow, the Requiem lit up like a nova consumed in white fire and silence. The song stopped. Forever. Aftermath. Fire and static. They drifted in orbit for hours, watching the choir fleet collapse, spires crumbling, harmonics shattering, Systems falling silent. Athena's core flickered. Infection threat neutralized. Choir signal erased. Rourke's neural stability. Holding. For now. Singh slumped into her seat. That wasn't just tech. That was faith gone wrong. Yim said nothing. She just stared at Rourke. He was silent, exhausted, glowing faintly, burned, bruised, bleeding from the nose, but alive. Why? She asked softly. They wanted to sing, he said. I made them scream. After weeks of silence, the galactic void spoke again. Athena's sensors flared in alarm aboard the Harrow. Unidentified transmission detected. Signal origin. Outer Rim Archive. Sector Theta Prime. Extremely ancient. Source matches precursor tech signature. Rourke stood on the command deck, staring into the starfield. The Outer Rim, the last known location of the ancient alien archive rumored to hold the origin of the Zarkari Queen's code and possibly the key to humanity's salvation or annihilation. This ends here, he said, voice low, eyes burning with determination. Havoc team gathered, battered but unbroken. Their faces told stories of loss, victory, and unwavering defiance. We go in hard, Singh said. No second chances. Together, Yim added. Rourke nodded. Then let's make history. Into the abyss. The Harrow plunged through the dark sector, cloaked in stealth fields, dodging unstable asteroid fields and deep space anomalies. The archive itself was a massive construct, a black monolith floating in space, surrounded by rings of dormant war machines and crystalline satellites humming with latent power. Athena's voice broke the silence. Archive defenses active, multi-layered energy fields, and automated sentry drones. Neural psionic barriers present. The team prepared their gear, pulse rifles, grab blades, EMP grenades, and experimental neural disruptors calibrated for Zarkari tech. As the Harrow docked, the entire ship trembled under unseen energy surges. The gatekeeper. They entered the archive's main chamber, a cathedral of alien architecture, soaring walls of black glass and pulsating biocrystals that throbbed with ancient power. At the center, a towering sentinel emerged, a fusion of metal and organic tissue, 10 meters tall, wielding energy blades crackling with blue plasma. It spoke not in words, but in a symphony of thought and raw emotion. You trespass in the sacred vault. Prove your worth, or perish. The team deployed instantly. Rourke led the charge, diving through plasma arcs, his wrath-enhanced limbs moving faster than thought. Singh took cover behind a pillar, firing precision shots that pierced energy shields. Yim darted through shadows, slashing tendrils from the Sentinel's back. Holt launched an EMP grenade, causing the Sentinel to stagger. But the gatekeeper was relentless. It struck with brutal, precise blows, sending Rourke crashing against a wall. A war of steel and spirit. The battle was epic. Rourke rose, muscles burning, rage fueling every strike. He leapt onto the Sentinel's arm, slicing through the armored plating with his grav blade. The Sentinel howled in a storm of psionic blasts. Athena scrambled to protect the team's neural links. Psionic feedback detected. Shield your minds or be consumed. Singh deployed neural dampeners, halting the Sentinel's mental assault. Yim moved in for a critical strike, plunging a pulse dagger into the Sentinel's core. The machine shuddered, but was not finished. It unleashed a shockwave that threw the team apart. Rourke was left standing alone, the heart of wrath. The Sentinel's core flickered, a crystalline orb infused with ancient code. Rourke's wrath-enhanced senses keyed into it. He saw visions, flashes of the Queen's origin, the birth of the Zarkari from a cosmic catastrophe, the theft of their code by humans, and the creation of wrath as a hybrid weapon. Pain and rage mixed with pride. He realized the archive was more than a tomb. It was a prison, a living archive containing the original consciousness of the Queen and her creators. To end the war, he would have to destroy it. The choice. The Sentinel's voice thundered again. To destroy the archive is to erase history, to deny your legacy. Rourke hesitated. He thought of his team, of the world's lost, of the friends dead. History isn't written by monsters, he said, raising his blade. Singh, Yim, Holt, and Ramirez joined him. Together, they struck. The final strike. The archive erupted in light and sound. Walls trembled. Crystals shattered. The Sentinel screamed as it was torn apart. Rourke plunged his blade into the core, shattering the crystalline orb. The archive began to collapse. Escape and sacrifice. The team raced back to the Harrow amid falling debris and collapsing corridors. Rourke stayed behind, holding off automated turrets and collapsing energy barriers. Go. I'll meet you at the ship, he shouted. Yim grabbed his arm. Not without you. Without me, you can live to fight another day. He kissed her forehead. A promise. Live. He detonated a charge to seal the collapse and blasted through the last turret. The last flight. The team blasted off, watching the archive implode in a supernova of black and violet light. Rourke's last transmission came through static. Steel against the stars. Humanity's will is our shield. We endure. They held each other, knowing the cost was high, but the war was won. Epilogue. A new dawn. Months later, survivors rebuilt. Humanity was battered, but unbroken. The Wrath Protocol was studied, not feared. Rourke's legacy lived on in every soldier who stood firm. And somewhere in the void, a faint pulse remained, proof that the fire of humanity would never be extinguished.